Thoughts from the trail. I'm Scott Anderson.
Hello from the trail. I've been thinking about my recent visit to China, and I've been thinking about one particular day in the town of Yangshuo. This is in southern China. And we were coming back from a very busy day, seeing just amazing things. And as we were driving into town to get something to eat, we saw on the right-hand side of the road a field of lotus flowers. I asked my friend the driver to pull over because I have never seen a full farm field of lotus flowers. And so he pulled over and I got out, and I spent a lot of time there at the lotus field. And this is what I've learned about the lotus flower, and I think there's some analogies for us in our lives. Whoo, there's some bugs here, wow. So the lotus flower, the seed, before it grows, is planted in the mud under the water. And then over time, a sprout comes up and reaches up out of the water, and a leaf unfurls and sits on top of the water. Then shortly after, a stem shoots up with a flower bud in it, and the bud comes up out of the water and begins the process of unfurling while it is out of the water. What's really interesting is when it unfurls, it is stunningly beautiful. And you'll see pictures here in this video of this field, and you'll see pictures of the flowers, and you'll see what I'm talking about. And they are just beautiful. Here's the analogy that's really interesting about the lotus flower. The lotus flower itself never gets dirty and never gets wet other than rain, but it comes up out of the water and out of the mud and turns and evolves into something beautiful. Another thing that's very interesting is if we think of the analogy of the mud and the water being the adversity that surrounds us in our lives, then the lotus flower coming up and rising out of the water from the mud and turning itself into something beautiful, and probably very proud of its beauty, but also it brings beauty to others. So the analogy is, in our lives, we are also surrounded by adversity or mud and water. And we get to make decisions on how we are going to rise or respond to that situation. And the truth is, we too can rise up like that flower, away and out of the mud or challenging or negative circumstances, and we can blossom. We can blossom into something that we believe is beautiful in our lives. And maybe, and not that this is the purpose, but there may be others who also appreciate the beauty and who we have become. I like that idea because so frequently we can get caught up in just focusing on the adversity and the challenges that we face, and sometimes maybe get discouraged and feel like there's no hope and that we can't become what we really want to become. And my logical self says that's a bunch of BS. My emotional self says, yeah, I've been there. I know what that feels like. But the truth is, we can do it. Each and every one of us can rise from circumstances to become more of what we want to become. And then it doesn't stop there. The analogy of the lotus flower doesn't stop there, because, and you'll see this in one of the photos, the lotus flower has very thick, waxy, water-resistant leaves. And you see that the water beads up on the leaves and the petals. And here's a really cool purpose about that. The purpose of that is the droplets of water, like from rain and mist, they clean away the dirt that starts to collect on the beautiful flower and on the leaves of the flower. And when a wind blows, the rain droplet just falls gently off the leaf, taking the dirt with it. So the analogy for us is, when we get to a point that we are happy with our circumstances, and maybe that we've reached a milestone, we should be wary of the fact that we have to maintain that. It is not an end. In fact, every day is a new journey. So we have the opportunity to each day maintain the status that we want to have if we've arrived at a place. Now, it doesn't mean we can't continue to strive, but the purpose of this analogy is to say it's up to us to be very vigilant of what's going on in our lives. I love this analogy. I think the lotus flower is beautiful. I think the analogy of the lotus flower is beautiful. I think I'm beautiful. I think you're beautiful. And let's find a way to pull ourselves out of the muddy waters of adversity and challenge and negativity, and let's blossom into something that makes our own selves happy. I invite you to think about that today. I'm continuing to think about it. It's something that I think about, not necessarily with that exact analogy, and it is a practice that I have to do every single day. And I invite you to figure out how that works for you in your life. Well, I'm going to end this analogy right here and show you this beautiful scene that I have here at the end of my day in Utah. And it's a sunset on Utah Lake. It's a place I come frequently looking for peace and serenity. And it's a beautiful day here. And I'll end with that. And I'll see you next time on the trail.